Views expressed by Camaplan podcast guests may not reflect those of Camaplan. Camaplan does not guarantee the accuracy of information provided by guests, nor does it endorse or recommend any individual or organization. Camaplan is not an investment advisor, CPA, realtor, or attorney. You are encouraged to conduct your own due diligence before making investment choices. For any tax, legal, accounting, investment, or other questions, please consult a specialist. Hi, I'm Michael Duncan, and welcome back to The Road to Financial Freedom. This podcast is brought to you by Camaplan, a self-directed IRA administrator focused on educating investors on how to grow retirement savings faster through alternative investments. In each episode, we're going to take an in-depth look at the many roads taken to financial freedom and how they differ for each of our guests. Our goal is to help the listeners learn how they can achieve their own financial freedom through the experience and stories of experts that have done just that. Today's guest is coming to us from REVA Global, a premier virtual assistant staffing company which helps real estate investors get their time back and close more deals. He started investing in real estate in 2004 after an 8-year professional hockey career and has done over 1,500 transactions since then. I am very excited to welcome Bob Lachance to the show. Bob, how are you doing?
Michael, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been very excited ever since we connected and figured all this out. I'm a big sports fan, so this was kind of right up my alley. And, you know, I did a lot of research on you, and it seems like your post-sports career has been really, really interesting, very varied, and I'm excited to learn more about it because it was not something that I knew a ton about before kind of getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, just like everyone's path, everyone has twists and turns on where they started and where they ended up. It's kind of funny, but yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
So let's start here then. So you were a professional hockey player for about 8 years.
Yep.
What led to you choosing to start investing in real estate in the first place, to start yourself on this journey?
Yeah. Well, I went to Boston University and I left 2 classes short from getting my degree. I signed a contract with St. Louis Blues organization. I played in their minor league for 2 years and then 2 more years here in the U.S. and 2 more years in Europe. And every summer I said, I'm going to go back to school and get my degree. Well, 8 years later, never went back. So yeah. I either had to decide to go back to school or jump into an industry that had, no barriers of entry. And real estate was it. So I figured, you know what? Now I'm a real estate investor. Read books and all that kind of good stuff. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just a lot of us. So that's what actually got me into real estate. Lack of degree.
So were there other industries, I guess, that you looked at, or was real estate something that was intriguing to you maybe prior to deciding you didn't want to do those last 2 classes?
Yeah, my father, growing up, he was a contractor and he had a couple of multifamily properties as well. So I got acclimated to that. So I saw that through the eyes of a kid, right? And then I either was going to go back and get my degree and probably jump into some sort of sales, right? Just that's where a lot of ex-professional athletes go, right? Jump into sales or finance, whatever it is. But so I decided I did not want to go back to school. So like I said, I self-educated myself on reading books and things like that. And so I decided I was a real estate investor at that time.
I can totally relate to that. Learning is not always best inside the classroom for everyone.
No.
I'm sure as an athlete, you are a very similar, self-educated. That probably comes a lot easier in a lot of ways rather than sitting in a classroom.
Yeah. I mean, I go back and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even think I took one thing from school and applied it to, this is back. I was a sociology major, so I really didn't pay attention. I wanted to go to the NHL and all that kind of, good stuff, and just decided, hey, you know what? I wasn't going to pay attention in class. Now I understand, right? When I self-educate myself and I, have coaches, mentors, etc. I understand the value of education now, but it's a different type of education.
Absolutely. And we are not at all saying that you should not stay in school.
Not at all.
Anyone of a young enough age is for some reason listening to this podcast, stay in school, do what you got to do. We are not promoting dropping out. However, it seems to have worked out for you. So tell me about what happened after you decided to get into real estate. So 2004 hits.
Yeah.
You're deciding, okay, no school, real estate. What happened?
Yeah, so I bought a course like we were just talking about, and I went through specifically exactly what was taught in that course. And one of the things that was taught was farming areas, which means, drive around neighborhoods and look at any type of property that's beat up, et cetera. So that's what happened. There was a real estate sign on the front of it. So I called, and it was a listed property. Property's listed for 185,000. I walked, got a showing that was set up, walked in, and it was just a really bad smell in the room, in the whole house. So I'm like,
Good.
all right, I read in this course, all right, it's how to get rid of that smell. It was cat urine. So I ended up making an offer about $135,000, and the property listed for 185. The seller is motivated; they accepted it, and so right then and there, now I was a rehabber. So I ended up rehabbing the property.
Of a cat piss smelling house.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, I didn't know anything. To be honest with you, I knew nothing about a lot of stuff. I know my dad was a contractor, but I was more of a gopher when I worked for him because he didn't want me to get in that industry. So he's like,
Okay.
all right, go for this, go get this. So anyway, figured it out. Ended up making 32 grand on that first flip, which was fantastic. But also realized I had zero systems, processes, marketing. I knew nothing about any of that. And so then I joined my local real estate investing association. Then I saw a speaker on pre-foreclosure, short sales, et cetera, which is properties are over-debted, you negotiate them down, et cetera. So invested in that course. And then I ended up getting into the short sale world for a long time. And then, so I did probably over 1,000 short sale transactions and negotiating with banks. I got my first business partner back in 2005. And then also started a couple of real estate education programs through the years. My first one in 2006 with my old business partner. And then 2007, we helped launch one of the biggest companies in the United States. And then,
Wow.
Which ended up being an incredible ride, if you will. So I was with that company for a long time. And then that's the reason why I started my virtual assistant company, because working with students, understanding that they did not have a ton of time left in their day. A lot of individuals that jump into the world of real estate education or whatever they want to coin it, but it's coaching programs, right? So they would join and they'd say, hey, I want to learn about real estate investing. How do I do it? So on and so forth. So I probably worked with 50,000+ students from start to finish, and same theme kept coming up. They don't have enough time to actually do the things that you want them to do or that you need them to do for them to be successful. So I started looking at all these different industries, whether it's a product or service, and said, how could we help these students? Like, what is it that we help these students? And I couldn't figure it out. And then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. And this is while I was flipping properties as well, still doing real estate investing. And so I hired my first VA, and I'm like, you know what? Boom, light bulb went on. 2014, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take what I created in the real estate education world to the virtual assistant. So that was 2014, launched my first company. And today we're at about 1,000 virtual assistants that service both real estate, medical, marketing, and different types of avenues.
So before we get into, I guess, what a virtual assistant is, kind of what led to that, I want to go back a little bit and say, so obviously 2004, you started your real estate investing, you had cat piss all over the place, and then, slowly gained, traction and experience and knowledge in that realm. What led to you wanting to help other people learn how to do this stuff? What made you want to be a mentor or a teacher in this industry?
Well, my first business partner was a mentor to me. And we actually got approached because we were doing a lot of short sales and we were doing some online stuff and promoting. And so we got approached by a company out of Florida saying, hey, can you guys run the back end of our coaching program? Because, we're in that space and we were doing a lot of short sales. And so we jumped on their team. And then we had a couple individuals, three guys, Than, Paul, and Conrad in our backyards before they started their company. And they created a wholesale course and a rehab course. And they started going from real estate association to real estate association, selling their course. And the logical next step for a lot of the individuals that start selling products is starting a coaching program. So since we're in the same, literally 35 minutes away, from each other here in Connecticut. And so they came to us and said, hey, you guys want to partner? We've never done, our background is not on the coaching side. We know you two are doing this. You want to do this together? We're like, absolutely. So that turned into really, really smart dudes, like really, really smart guys. And our job was to run the back end of the coaching program and help build that up from ground zero to however big it got. So it was a very, very good partnership for a long time.
When you say back end, what part of that is that you were in charge of?
So we're in charge of building up the coaching program, meaning, hiring coaches, retaining them, and making sure that the quality of the coaching program stayed at a high level, because, these individuals are very, very smart, Yale grads, et cetera. So the quality of what we wanted in a real estate education coaching program was the top of the industry.
Yeah.
So it was always keeping up that quality and getting individuals that were doing the business today, not they did business 15 years ago. And I think that's, for me personally, that's important when I run a business, especially my virtual assistant company. I use all of the virtual assistants that cold call, follow up, text. They drive leads to my real estate company here to our sales floor, and they turn those leads into contracts, which turns into money.
So outside of, being in the industry at that point, what were some of the things you were looking for in these coaches and these mentors? Like theoretically, if I was going out and I was looking for a mentor in the real estate business, like what type of things should I be looking for in that person?
So I think it's important that they do the business today. It's very important. So whatever service you're looking at, I really think that individuals should be using their product. So if you're looking for a mentor coach, make sure they're doing business today. It doesn't matter what industry it is, right? It does not matter, but make sure they're using whatever product or service that they have in their business, and there's results. And it's very, very different, because from somebody who actually does the business today, who, did it pre-COVID or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? Because they know the ins and outs of how to overcome little challenges here and there.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense. It would be weird, I think, and this is definitely not an uncommon train of thought, but to have someone that's teaching you about something about a product that they don't use, like that just seems, it seems very easy, but I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily think of it. So I commend you for that. Okay, so fast forwarding now, virtual assistant, what is it? And what made you think that there was a need for it?
Yep. Well, going through, like I said before, talking a little bit about working with all the students that I worked with. Again, many of them worked part-time or full-time. They didn't have time to actually perform the tasks that we needed them to perform, like consistent. As an example, real estate investors, right? They need to consistently market. If you don't consistently market, that means you don't have consistent leads, right? Whether it's, nowadays, whether it's cold calling, text messaging, direct mail, PPC, whatever that is. If you don't do that on a daily basis, then the leads stop, which means how are you going to make money? Yeah. So it's the same kind of concept. So I was looking at what can we help create those students that, are working part-time, full-time, or even, in real estate full-time. What type of product or service out there? So they said 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. And just to give everyone an outlook of what VAs are, the best way to explain it is, somebody who is not working in your office, they're working remote. So that's in essence a virtual assistant. But for me, I use all my virtual assistants are the Philippines as of today. So they're all out of the Philippines. And so I had to fly to the Philippines. I'm probably there now, obviously post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I was there about 3 to 4 times a year. Now I'll be back, doing that, going back and forth, probably 3 to 4 times a year. But it's really, really cool. So for us, in the best way to look at it, call centers, right? You have call centers in the Philippines. It's very, very prevalent. There are so many call centers, whether it's using Verizon, AT&T, et cetera, et cetera. So when we get phone calls on our phone or handle customer service, that is where a lot of them are actually housed, just to give everyone context.
So what are the advantages of using a virtual assistant as opposed to a more typical, I guess, I don't know, a regular assistant? I don't know if that's necessarily the right term, but.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, let's look at what's going on in the economy and in
Okay.
every country or every state. Minimum wage keeps going up, higher,
Yeah.
higher, higher, higher. So a lot of it for small businesses, we're on budgets,
Yeah.
and to get things done consistently, you're either going to hire someone in house when you have all these different costs. You have desk space, maybe you're paying for their cell phones, you're paying for their computers, you're paying for their taxes, you're paying for unemployment, you're paying et cetera, et cetera. So it
Yeah.
all keeps adding up. So if you hire someone, you have someone in-house, those are all the costs that are going to happen. When you outsource it to a virtual assistant, all of that's encompassed in your daily cost, right? So you're either going to pay somebody, even if you're paying somebody $18 an hour, it's really probably 22, 23, 24, 25 when you add all of that other stuff in, rather than working with a virtual assistant at about $10.60 an hour. It's for a lot of people, it's a no-brainer.
So it's really just the cost of, paying them a little bit more maybe as a salary, but you're avoiding all the other costs that come with
Correct.
having an office.
And we're tied in. I mean, now since COVID happened, everyone is, since all that remote work, before it was like, all right, well, they're not in my office. How do I know if they're going to work? Well, that's gone now because, it's remote work is very commonplace now.
We live in a very different world than we did
Correct.
3 years ago in terms of the workplace.
Correct.
Okay, so you've got a virtual assistant. How do you go about building teams with these virtual assistants that allow you to kind of like scale back, get your time back for these students, especially that are trying to break into this?
Yeah, very simple. So if you're new real estate investor or even a seasoned investor, very, very easy to build up systems. So we look at whatever systems. It first starts with whatever tasks that you want, like podcasting, right?
Yep.
I have a podcast as well. I have virtual assistants that, cut up the video, that send out emails. They do all of this stuff behind the scenes for podcasts, as an example, right? Because a lot of people don't know, we do this podcast. Well, that's only one part of it. And then what happens after you go record? It downloads up into wherever it downloads, and then you got to do something with it. You got show notes, you got blah, blah, all that kind of good stuff. So it's the same thing. So I would first say, look at the task that you want to outsource first. So if it's real estate, obviously you guys have an IRA company, right? If I have my funds with you guys, I need to find the projects to invest in, right? If it's lending, let's say it's lending money on a rehab property, right? I know a bunch of people. I always, I have other investors that say, "Oh, Bob, you have IRA money, right? Well, I have a project. Could you invest in it?" Well, for them to find that project, that's where virtual assistants come in, right?
Of course.
Like I said, on the marketing side, they're either, posting their branding, they're posting on social media, they're consistently marketing on TikTok, they're consistently marketing on LinkedIn. Also, they're also doing tasks like cold calling, text messaging, PPC, taking inbound leads. So when all of those leads come in, a virtual assistant for us, what they do is they pre-screen them and then they send them over to our sales floor. Because I know when I first started real estate investing back in 2004, I had a list of pre-foreclosure properties, and I went every 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday through Friday. I door knocked, which is different today. I don't recommend door knocking anymore, but I door knocked every single day. But the new door knocking is cold calling and text messaging to drive those leads to either you or you have an acquisition person or a salesperson.
Absolutely. So I'm assuming that they can also help a lot with marketing. I mean, you've already mentioned that a couple of times.
Yep.
And that seems like something that, as a student, it is a completely separate set of skills. It both has to do with real estate, but also has nothing to do with real estate.
Right.
So how do they help with that? And have you seen a lot of success with virtual assistants helping with the marketing side of things, especially?
Oh, 100%. In the way, like I said before, you look at marketing and branding. Those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
You got the branding side would be just, posting your content every day, just staying out there in front of people, right? That's different. But then you have on the marketing side, you have either direct to seller, right? So direct to seller, or you're going direct, doing things like direct mail and posting on, maybe you're going PPC, you're doing Google AdWords, etc. But for us, what works very, very well is direct to seller right now, because you don't have to wait. You're going directly to that seller. So, you're directly sending let's say you're doing mail campaigns. You're
Okay.
directly sending out mail, but you're waiting for them to call you back. Direct to seller on the text messaging cold calling is I'm getting a list of names and I'm going right to that seller. So for instance, let's say, you call me up and you say, hey, Bob, you interested in selling your house? You're going directly to me, right?
Yes.
I got a call from you and, I got Mike, hey, Michael, how are you? So now you're going right to me without having to wait for me to call you like it would be in direct mail.
It cuts out a lot of the time in between communication that may or may not even happen, I guess.
Correct. So you weed through all the, the potential the cost of direct mail, let's call it what it is. It keeps going up and up and up. So, cold calling text message is very cheap right now.
Yeah, it's cheaper. And I'm sure to an extent, it's probably more effective.
It is.
I mean, it
works very well.
Like.
Yeah. And there are some direct mail campaigns that work very well. So we do a kind of a mix of everything.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So what are some of the other things that you think are the best tasks to automate when you're getting started with a virtual assistant? So that especially that will lead to more closings like in real estate. So if I came to you, I just started getting into real estate, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. This is a side thing for me. I'm using it to build money for my retirement. I come to you and I say, I want to make this easier on me, but I still want to make the same amount or more money. What would you suggest to do?
It's all prospecting, right? Whether you're an agent or investor, doesn't matter, right? Even we have, individuals that are looking for apartment buildings, right? So it's direct to seller. I think if you're brand new, we look at every industry. If you don't have leads, you don't have a business. So I would really, really focus on that front end of getting leads into your business, because think about this. If you have 50 leads that come in, it's going to be up to you whether you make money on those, right?
Yeah,
because you have 50 leads, you give me the same 50 leads, right? It's whoever typically gets to them first.
Yeah.
It puts, right? So an agent or investor, kind of the same thing. If you're looking for listings or you're looking for, houses to buy or to buy and hold, to buy, resell, to buy, fix and flip, whatever that looks like for you, it all depends on, what you do with that lead.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense. So one of the biggest things then, obviously, is getting the leads. What would you say is, I guess, the biggest hurdle that new real estate investors, after they have the leads, that they run into and could possibly be helped out by the use of a virtual assistant?
Yeah, I would say running comps, right? Running comparables. Very important, because you need to know, especially if you're newer, you need to know how much that property is worth, right? There's online sites like Zillow that you could work off of, and you go through numbers, etc. It's also very good working with real estate agents as well. But virtual assistants, we have our VAs run comps for us, because when we get all those leads that come in, they run a comp analysis and send over, what our typical buy boxes, because a lot of, so I'll use an example, hedge funds, right? Hedge funds, they have particular buy boxes in certain areas. So if they're buying in Arkansas, they're buying in Alabama, their purchase box, what they need to buy at, is a little different. So if we're working on the real estate investing side, if we're working with hedge funds, we already know their buy box, so our virtual assistants could run all those analyses for us.
And that's just saving you time, and it's something that doesn't necessarily need to be done by you to be effective and be helpful for you.
Correct.
So to back up a little bit, and I want to focus a little bit more on your real estate investing real quick. How do you focus on the income? Like, how do you produce tasks that will generate revenue in your business? And what is the best way to focus that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we have our real estate investing company, we have, we've built a team over time, of course, right? But if you start looking at it, it all depends on what niche you want to do. If you're buying and holding, right, the way I look at it, if I'm going to buy and hold, you need access to financing. So I am going to work with a company like yourself, right, to get individuals that have money to be able to purchase my properties, right, or to be able to fund my properties, I should say, right? So you got to start with the finance. Same thing with fix and flips. You need to have money available for you before I'm going to be able to buy that property. So I would start with the end first. And if you're wholesaling, you need buyers as well. So you start first with the end in mind, and then you could go back to the beginning on the acquisition side. because it's the same. If you're looking to buy properties, you need leads that come in. You need your buy box. You got to run the comps. You got to know what you're going to purchase that property for, and you need financing, right?
Yeah.
Those always are there, right? Or you could flip flop financing to having buyers if you're going to look to turn over those properties quicker. So those are always going to be in play no matter what.
Absolutely. No, that makes a ton of sense. I like that thought process of starting at the end, and I think that makes a lot of sense and is definitely not the norm, at least as I understand it. But finally, I have one more question for you before I let you tell the listeners where to find you, how to connect with you, all that kind of stuff. But it's simply, like I said, this is the road to financial freedom. I want to know what financial freedom means to you and how to best achieve it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a lot of people look at financial freedom as, having X amount of money in the bank, right? Or financial freedom for some individuals is being healthy, right? Because that is, I know money and if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter how much money you have, right?
Very true.
So I would put them both together for me. I would have a mix of, number one, you need help. You have to take care of yourself, right? You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You don't have to be running 10 miles a day, but just, staying active, always just, taking care of yourself on that side of it. And the financial side, I like repeatable income, right? We all have different types of ways to make money. You can, look at, obviously I'll steer to what you guys do in the self-directed IRA world. That's passive. So if you're going to lend me money, that's obviously going back in your self-directed IRA, but that's the passive income that goes back in for your future, typically for when I'm retiring. So I would put both of them together. Always, always, always have some type of mechanism where you're making passive income, whether it's using your IRA money, right? Using your self-directed IRA money, or if you're buying properties and getting that cash flow, or even business. There's businesses that, guess what? That's just how that works. You have repeatable income. It's not, when you're investing in real estate and you're only wholesaling, you're only flipping, et cetera, right? That, you're in a hamster wheel, you're running, make a lot of money, right? But you are running. So that's why individuals typically take a lot of that money and put that into passive income, whether it's a multifamily property, single family property to rent out.
Absolutely. I love it. I think that's a great definition. I love hearing people's answers to that because it's always different. And I think it always tells us a lot about the way that they think. And I love that. I enjoy getting to hear that. So finally, Bob, please, can you tell our listeners where to find you, how to connect with you, and if they have any further questions for you in particular, how to best ask those?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can check us out on our website, which is REVAGlobal.com, REVA Global.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, wherever else. I'm all over the internet right now. But you can send me a direct email too if you have a question. It's bob@revaglobal.com. Any type of questions, just send them over and that goes directly to me.
And all of his information will also be in the description of this episode, as always. So on behalf of Bob, on behalf of myself, and on behalf of Camaplan, I wanted to thank everyone for listening, and I will see you again soon. So have a good one.